Joan Quinn is the former West Coast editor of Andy Warhol's Interview magazine and society editor of the Herald Examiner. Her cover stories are seen in Venice and Detour magazines, and she is a contributing editor to Angelus magazine. For the next half hour, Joan will bring you inside news and views on society, art, film, and the exhilarating worlds of these multifaceted people. Here is Joan Quinn.
Welcome. With us today is director Robert Dornhelm, who emigrated from Romania to Vienna when he was 13 with his parents. After finishing school, he worked as a TV director where he made more than 100 documentaries. His first film, Children of the Theater Street, narrated by Grace Kelly, won him an Oscar nomination in 1976. And since then, he's been making wonderful films. She Dances Alone with Keira Nijinsky and Bud Cort, Digital Dreams with Bill Wyman and James Coburn, Echo Park with Tom Hulse and Susan Day, Cold Feet with Sally Kirkland and Jeff Bridges, and his last film, which is quite a diversion from the other ones we've been talking about, Requiem for Dominic. Is Requiem a documentary, Robert?
Well, I never believed in categorizing films. A film is a film, and hopefully it's going to move you. In my early work, too, in Children of Theatre Street and She Dances Alone, the borders between documentary and fiction were always kind of unclear, and people, the purists, have accused me of not playing within the rules of the, established filmmaking, tradition. For me, it was always important to move people. So. This last one was a true story which deals with a real issue and the revolution, and a personal friend of mine. So I guess you can call it a factual film about reality.
But the idea that you'd made so many documentaries obviously influences you in your work.
Well, the texture of most of my films are quite real. I like realism. I prefer it because I think it's so much richer than having to invent all the little details. You just have to grab them from the street, and I always appreciated that. It's also a great production value. So that was my style so far, but yet I'm more and more tempted to the artifice and to the opposite of my cinematic upbringing.
Do you think you'll start breaking away or trying to break away?
I'm trying.
Tell us a little bit about Requiem. It was a movie about a friend of yours, and you were in Romania as a young boy. Did you remember things about Romania?
I returned to Romania to do 2 or 3 documentaries in the 70s. I did a Dracula movie, which was a big scandal at the time, because in my Dracula documentary at the time I had Ceausescu as the main bloodsucker.
Oh, you did? You were way ahead of your time.
Well, I wasn't alone there. But no, I did go back to Romania, and I kept in contact with a lot of friends. And so when in December, when the news came that Ceausescu is fleeing and there's a revolution, I was jubilant and very happy. And when the news came that our old friend Dominic has been wounded, our first reaction was we have to help him. And then the next news came, but he was unfortunately on the wrong side. He was a killer. He was killing for the Securitate.
So the film actually started after the downfall, after Romania?
No, I went back. I started shooting after the downfall, but it starts within the revolution.
Should we see a clip of it, and we'll see how, you want to tell us a little bit about it?
The clip, I mean, my theory was that, of course, the media in the West and East, not just the West, but particularly in the West, has manipulated and helped the Romanian people to overthrow their government. They needed any encouragement they could get. So they started to invent a lot of things. They exaggerated, they talked about thousands of dead, and so they needed, the murderers, and here was one of them.
So let's watch the monitor and we'll see.
Herr Paraskiv, alle Leute sagen, Sie haben geschossen. Sie sagen, das stimmt nicht. Warum glauben Sie, lügen die Leute?
Dominik, sind Sie für die Revolution?
Sind Sie ein Securitate-Mann, wie alle Leute behaupten?
Dominik Paraskiv, draußen gibt es viele Tote und Sie haben 80 davon umgebracht. Warum haben Sie das gemacht?
Dominique, comment avez-vous pu tirer sur vos frères roumains?
Warum glauben Sie denn eigentlich, dass er ein Terrorist ist?
Na, alle sagen das. Und außerdem hat man ihn mit der Waffe gefunden.
Und warum helfen Sie dem Mann nicht?
Geh wisch ihn ab. Was hast du davon?
Sie glauben auch, dass er ein Terrorist ist.
Selbstverständlich.
So they called him the butcher at that time, and that was your friend Dominic.
Right, right. It's very depressing for me to see these images again, because most people you see are actual journalists who were there during the revolution.
These were not actors.
No, no, I was using as few as possible, real actors. I mean, they were acting, they reenacted their own experience during the revolution a few months previous to when I shot it. The last scene where the photographer leans over to photograph Nick Fogel, unfortunately was killed last week in Yugoslavia.
How did that happen?
He was there again, doing his job as a photojournalist, and was shot by planes, actually.
Just part of
the uprising.
of the action,
yeah.
and part of the uprising, just in the last war. Last
just
time.
now. Yeah.
And the woman, she
Antonia-
looked like she was a very strong actress, and yet she's
Yes,
a
no,
very...
she's a very strong woman who was in Baghdad almost through the whole war. Nobody knows about her because Peter Arnett kind of stole the show, if you want. But she was there too, and she was the first woman to interview Saddam Hussein. She was quite a bit on American TV.
Was she?
Yeah.
She looked wonderful in that. When you were there making the film, did they know what you were doing?
No, of course not. And
How did you do it then?
Well, there was chaos. There was just a few weeks after the revolution. Nobody really was in charge, and I knew that, and I used that few weeks of confusion. I knew that by the end of our shoot, and it was actually true, when the secret police came back into power and police got reorganized and people started to know what was happening, it's going to be tougher to get away with what we did. I didn't want to tell them for many reasons. They are very clever, the Romanians, and I didn't want them to just immediately proclaim him a hero and say, oh, it was just a mistake. He really didn't shoot anybody, and we are very sorry. Every revolution, there are always victims. And I didn't want to do it that easily. I wanted to find out, and I wanted this moral dilemma I had reenacted. And so I thought it's a more interesting story.
As you watch the story unfold, though, you start, as a viewer, you start wondering what the truth is. You wonder if maybe he really did go crazy the way he did when he took over the factory. We're going to see a clip from that in a few minutes. But how do you keep yourself from being brainwashed?
Well, it's difficult. My brother told me before I left, he said, watch out because everybody there is lying.
I know, that's what I felt.
But except the opposite of the lie is not the truth.
See, it isn't, is it? So how do you know?
Isn't that true to almost every part of the world? Isn't it the fact that media isn't trustworthy anymore? That, we are told stories which certain people and power groups want us to believe. And how do we inform ourselves?
But your truth and your knowledge came from his family, I guess, and from his wife.
That was the first-hand information I got, but that first-hand information wasn't first-hand information because there was nobody from the people I talked to present at the time when he took the gun. So it's already emotionalized when she tells me the story.
Are we going to see that? Is that one of the clips that we're going to see about when he takes over the factory? Is that the part of it?
We weren't planning on it, but we could show that clip as well.
Yeah, because I think that shows the difference in the way he took it over. Maybe you can explain the way the media talked about it and the way it actually happened.
That's clip number 3, so they need to know.
Oh, it is clip number 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if we want to see Dominic in the factory, we just have to see clip 3.
I think that would be very good. Can we do clip 3? Okay. So we'll come back. The other thing I was wondering about was the common kind of obstacles that kept coming up in your way. What were those
Well, every
things?
film is basically fighting the obstacles. There's no film without problems. Now, if you go into a country where there was a revolution and people are demonstrating on the streets, you know, it's not an easy job to, you know, handle 50 people, take care of their little needs, feed them, find accommodation, cars.
Yeah.
You know, so from that point of view, it would have been, it seems very difficult, but it wasn't. It seemed much easier because everybody was wonderfully motivated. They all felt, you know, my enthusiasm and my really desire to, you know, tell this story. And somehow, if the dynamic is right, things just work better. I also kept a very small crew, which was...
Oh, that's easy to move.
It was much easier to move, yeah.
I think they're going to show us that clip now, and we can talk about the factory.
Ich habe euch was zu sagen. Ich glaube, wir sollten jetzt beten. Habt ihr mich verstanden?
Komm, Dominik, lass den Blödsinn.
Werf die Waffen weg.
Ist dir gut, Dominik?
Bist du verrückt geworden, oder was?
Komm, Dominik, geh nach Hause. Du bist übermüdet, wie wir alle.
Du legst sofort das Gewehr hin. Ich liebe euch. Alle. Aber dass wir jetzt beten müssen, das seht ihr doch ein, oder?
Did that actually happen like that?
Well, I spoke to a few people who were present in the factory, and that was kind of the most likable variation. He went insane, but who is insane? I mean, the same country was screaming, you know, wonderful leader Ceausescu, the god of the Carpathians, our leader, and conducatorul, like, kind of reminds you of a very fascistic kind of duce, same meaning. So the same people screamed down with Ceausescu just 24 hours later, and the murderer should leave. So Dominic, who was a very religious man, just went insane. He just couldn't, you know, handle the whole situation. Said, yes, we lied to our children since they were born. We told them everything's fine, believed the lies. And suddenly we are, you know, it's the king's new clothes. Somebody screams he's naked. And then,
he just...
Yeah, so he just couldn't take it, and he probably went somewhat insane.
And so that was really the beginning of how they got to him, and the real
Except he didn't shoot anybody. I mean,
he didn't shoot anybody.
Nobody was injured. He shot twice in the air. Nobody was injured, but when he was brought to the hospital, they said, this is a man who shot at his fellow Romanian brothers. And Western media was there. They immediately found, you know, got somebody red-handed, kind of a terrorist. And it was a great story. So they put him under the net, and the rest just developed.
Where do you live now?
I live in Los Angeles most of the time.
Do you? Are you a citizen?
No, I am a permanent resident. I have the green card.
You have the green card. You have a new project that you're working on in Ireland, I know.
Yeah.
Does it have anything to do, is it similar to Dominic?
I decided after Dominic that my next movie is going to be a comedy. And I was working, I said I deserved a comedy after so much blackness and drama. But, you know, in the meanwhile, I received this script by Jim Sheridan, the man who wrote and directed My Left Foot and The Field.
Well, that was not very comical.
No, neither is the new one.
Oh, but you thought you were doing a comedy?
Right, yeah. And so it's about the pains of growing up. It's about tinkers, which relates to the gypsies in Romania.
Oh.
It's kids and horses and the loss of a parent.
Where will it be filmed?
In Dublin and outside of Dublin.
And are you there now working on it?
Yeah, I just came back from there where I spent a month in the rain, and I'm returning there to the wonderful Irish food.
Is it awful?
It's terrible, yeah. And so I'm going to be there for the next 4 months, it seems.
And then, does it have a title?
Into the West is the working title.
So, and will anyone known be in it? Do you have any
No, we're in the
actors?
process now of finalizing the cast.
And
But the most important members are, of course, the kids. There are 2 kids, an 8 and a 10-year-old boy.
so there are new discoveries?
Yes,
there?
I guess there will be.
Well, since you're all around the world all the time, what do you do in your spare time?
I fish.
Do you?
Yeah.
Where?
Right in front of my house, at the beach. have a kayak and go out. And just this morning I caught, just before the eclipse, I caught 2 sea bass.
Did you?
Yeah.
How great. Oh, next time you have to bring your fish in for us.
All right.
Thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. We'll be back. Welcome back. When I was in Sacramento recently attending a California Arts Council meeting, I had the opportunity to meet a young scholarship winner in the Chopin competition from Poland. Naturally, I wanted you to meet her and see how talented she is. Here's the interview of our young visitor from Poland. Katarzyna Moscicka at the California Arts Council headquarters in Sacramento, California. Kate is the winner of the National Chopin Pianist Competition in Poland. Kate, tell us how old you are and say your name for us.
My name is Katarzyna Moscicka. I'm 18 years old.
Where do you live?
I live in Warsaw, Poland.
And how did you get started in your musical career?
I was 9 years old when I started to play, and in this time in Warsaw was international Chopin competition, and I was so interested in this event that I started to think about playing the piano.
At 9 years old, you knew about the Chopin concert, the competition?
It was earlier than 9 years old. It was 11 years old.
Was later than 9.
Yes.
It was 11 years old.
Yes. No, it was 11 years ago.
Oh, I see.
I was about 7.
Oh. Did anyone else in your family play?
No, I'm only one person of my family who play the piano, who are musician at all.
How then would a young girl of 7 years old find the piano so interesting?
I don't know how it happened. I just love to hear the music, listen to performances of very good pianists, listen every kind of music. And my parents at home very often take the records, music records.
Did you have a piano in the house?
No, I didn't have yet.
Well, where did you go to practice?
I didn't practice in this time. When I have the test to music school, my parents bring the piano to my house.
Oh, so you had to go to school, take a test, and pass the test?
Yes, because in Poland we have, to every kind of school we have the examination, even for young 7 years old children.
Did you go to a regular school and then to music school, or at the same time?
First I went to regular grammar school, and after 2 years I went to music school. So I was to go to 2 schools at the same time.
When you practice, did you practice at the school or did you practice at home as well?
I practice at home all the time. Sometimes in school, but it's very rarely.
And now that you've won the competition, which is a wonderful thing, what do you plan to do with your piano playing?
I would love to be performance piano player, but it's very hard work and it's very difficult to be good pianist.
Have you played in solo or with an orchestra in Eastern Europe?
I played one time, it was in my grammar music school with school orchestra. It wasn't a very big event, but it was my first time with orchestra, and I will play with my high school orchestra next year or after 2 years.
And after you finish high school, will you be going on to university, or do you plan to continue your career aside from university?
I'm sure that I will go to university, and I will going on my study with my teacher Paweł Skrzypek next 5 years or 6 years.
Say the name again.
Paweł Skrzypek.
Do you have to go out of Poland, do you think, to find a way to continue your career?
I would like first to play only in Poland, to be known in Poland with our Polish audience, to finish my school, to be known in Poland, and then maybe I will try to play abroad.
Well, we want you to come to America.
I would love to come.
Where did you learn such good English?
Oh, in Warsaw I have very good teacher, American teacher. She's an American, and I took lesson 3.5 years.
So you have that American accent, we can tell.
Thank you. I haven't yet.
Do you have any time to do anything else other than go to school and practice the piano?
In Warsaw? Yes, of course. When I have more things to do, I have more time for myself too. I don't know how it happened, but I have a lot of friends, very good friends. So I have time for me too.
What do you do?
Oh, we are meeting. We have the meetings. After the school we are going to some places, funny places with my friends, and in the weekend we have sometimes a party, and we always hearing our performances to each other because all of my friends are musicians. Not all, but mostly.
So do you play another instrument?
No, only piano.
But when do you go to dances? Do the students in Warsaw go to dances? What else do they do? Do you go to coffee houses?
Too. I used to training art gymnastic.
Oh, you did?
Yes, but I have to finish when I start playing the piano. I have to make a choice, and I choose piano. So now sometimes a lot of my friends, are dancers, very good dancers in Poland. So.
Classical dancing or rock and roll?
It's modern dance. It's a little from classic dance and little very modern dance. So it's very original.
You know, LOT Airlines brought you over, Polish Airlines.
Yes, I would like to thank very much the Polish Airlines.
They just started flying from Los Angeles to
Sacramento.
No, to Poland.
Yes, from Warsaw to Los Angeles, and from Los Angeles to Poland.
Yeah, so that was wonderful. If they continue bringing wonderful people like you to America, we'll be very happy.
Yes.
Could you play a little bit for us before we?
Of course, I will have to play something.
Thank you. We'll listen to Kate
Moscicka.
Moscicka. Thanks for listening. 3, 4, 5. Kate was so wonderful. I wish you could have heard all of it. Thanks for being with us today. We want to thank Robert Dornhelm for taking time out of his production in Ireland, and come back and see us again at Joan Quinn, etc.